Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Excellent. So one thing is just the double call. Everybody, I think, should be doing that. We just call twice in a row.
Triple dial.
What's triple dial?
Same thing. Only do it 3 times in a row.
Oh, there you go.
And it works.
No, from the same number.
Okay.
Because then they'll think it's like an emergency. Because like who calls someone like, like literally like, you call them, welcome.
Nice arrival, Tony.
You call them and then you don't leave a voicemail, you just hang up. And then you wait, 5 seconds or whatever and just call them back immediately. Because, people, if you get 2 calls from the same number in a row, you usually think that something's going on. It's like some emergency or your kid's daycare or something like that. So, good technique that I would encourage everybody to use. And then if they call you out on it, say, well, why'd you call me twice? Just say, I didn't hear anything the first time I called. Like I couldn't hear it ringing. Or whatever you want to say. But something like that.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, so today we have, we're going to listen to part of an audio clip from one of Markle's appointments.
The Markle experience.
The Markle experience. We are going to talk about sort of what we like, what could be better. Obviously, this is for learning purposes only. So Markle is going to get the brunt of it today, and then it'll be maybe me next week and so forth. So I'm going to start in
a rerun or? No, you good, no.
Where is this in the meeting?
I got a new tub.
So this is during the walkthrough. I'm going to do one short clip here and then move to where Mark sits down with the seller. I want to do this part of it first. This is they're walking through, looking at the house, and he mentions that he's talked to some other agents. So.
All that. Nice. So are they realtors that you've worked with before? The fan and the exhaust fan. Running closet? Yeah.
So he said he's talked to 2 other realtors. And Mark asked him if they were realtors he's talked to before, and he said this is the exhaust fan.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was a nice deflection.
So are they realtors that you've worked with before, I guess, or
yes,
are they realtors that you've worked with before? The ones who are? No, 2 of them. I have 4 of them in here, and I'm working with 2. Oh wow, okay. Until I find out something that. Gotcha. I mean, they already quoted me. Price. Okay. And what do they think it would sell for on those market? 435 and 425. That's.
So he's talked to 2 agents, and Mark asked him what they thought it would sell for. He said one said 435, one said 425.
So that's right about what I came to as well.
So in that situation, this is obviously is going to be super common, right? You're like meeting with somebody and they're talking to other agents, or they know an agent, or whatever the case may be, right? We're constantly competing with other agents. So here's a perfect situation. He's talked to 2 people. He hasn't signed anything. I think it was a good question. Mark asked, what does Dave say you should list the house for? That's helpful information, for a number of reasons. And then he says 425, 435. And then Mark says, that's what I think too. What else, another way you could respond to that information that might help because at the end of the day, you want to kind of differentiate yourself, right? So you want to say something that sets you apart from the other 2. And the other 2 have said essentially the same price, and now we're saying also the same price. What else, how can we add to that or change our response to make us stand out?
How do you feel about those numbers?
I think you will. Yeah, that's okay.
I like that question.
Yeah. I think it's good.
I always want them to do the talking. As much of the talking as possible.
Yeah.
I think it's a good question. What else? What's another thing that another way to kind of continue that conversation? You don't necessarily have to talk about price, but how else can you differentiate yourself from these other two turkeys?
This is still the beginning of the conversation?
This is the walkthrough.
The walkthrough?
Yeah, they were just looking at the exhaust fan.
I would have deviated to his motivation for even sitting down with the realtors. Why did you? I'm confused. I mean, this is a great house. Great area. The prices are only going to go up. I mean, why settle, Mr. Seller? It just seemed premature to engage into the numbers.
So he's got, this is about 10 minutes into the meeting, or I'm sorry, this is about 5 minutes into the meeting. He wants 425, 435, he says that later on several times, and that's about what the ARV for the house is, and the house is in really good shape, it seems from what I heard from listening to the reporting. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, gotcha.
So I think he has like a somewhat realistic price, but he basically wants market value for the house. And so, and he later says that he wants as much as he can get a couple times. So Mark, I think, correctly hones in on, this is a possible listing. Really doesn't sound like this guy is going to have a lot of interest in a cash offer. So I think that was the right move. And sort of with that background, now you're sort of competing. You have to consider yourself to be competing against these other two agents, right? He's met with us, but he's probably going to list it, and if it's not with us, it'll be with one of these other two people. So now we're sort of in the listing world, and now we're just trying to compete for the listing, right? So they have, one question that you can ask is, when they talk about price, what did they think? What did they say about something else? These agents, right? What did they say about would there be their marketing strategy for the house, right? And he's probably going to say, well, I don't know. Or they didn't say anything, or I'm not sure, right? So, and then you want to find out what some of the things are that they, what other things these realtors said or didn't say. So you can then, if it's an area that they didn't hit, you can talk about it a lot and differentiate yourself, right? So, but there's a way to do that without sort of bashing these people too, right? Did they say anything? You don't want to say you don't want to say anything negative. You can just ask the question, did they do it? And if it's not, be like, okay, well, that's in my view, that's a really critical part of the process, right? What's something else that we could say that distinguishes us, we do, other than the marketing that we do, which is, I think, one of the key differentiating factors. But what's something else you could ask? Did they talk about what? Marble? Any thoughts?
You can always ask if they're part of a team or if they're an individual agent. That's one of the biggest ones that when I've gone on appointments after that, I've found really resonates with people, because they understand that if it's one person, they're going to be running around doing everything, exhausting themselves, whereas we have the team structure. So we focus on the more important things like selling their house, which really hits it home, I think. Okay.
That's good. Anything else, Tara?
Remembering from some of, I think it's Tom's training, going into, and maybe this is the marketing, part of the marketing, but the database of buyers, that it's completely separate from all the other marketing that's out there.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think that's right. I think the marketing is probably the biggest one. Another thing that I think it's helpful to talk about is, and Mark talks about this some later in this meeting, is that given that we have an investment side to the business, that we're constantly selling houses. So we sell lots and lots of houses, right, all the time. So we've kind of got that down to a science. So that's one thing that is different about us than really any other agent for the most part, right? Yeah, we're selling more houses because we're selling them.
What about the coming soon?
Coming
you
soon.
mentioned that as well. I mean, would you ask about the other agents, what they're proposing to make sure that they have the right pricing at the get-go when they go to the market?
Yep, I think
Something like that.
I think that yeah, definitely talking about pricing is I think the marketing and then talking about like the importance of getting the right price.
Would you mention the coming soon thing?
Potentially.
This is another differentiator.
Is another differentiator. Mark talks about that. I'm gonna go right to the sit down, and so Mark's gonna tell him kind of about the company. He's gonna talk to him about price, coming soon, and something that makes us a little bit different. So we'll kind of break it up in segments, and then talk about each one.
And then at some point, did Mark ask questions about these other agents, like what his relationship is with them, or like where he came across them, and stuff like that?
He asked him if these are people that he's worked with before, and he said no. But other than that, I don't think there was any like.
This is before we had that meeting where we went over all the other stuff to kind of like, I guess, discredit the other agents. So.
Yeah, well, and before even discrediting, I think that you should just learn more about the other agents as well.
Yeah,
a little bit more. I mean, like, so I don't know, just something that if I like, because that's a yes or no question. Obviously, that's the hard part about that one.
Right.
So just something open ended, like, oh, like, how did you come across these other agents? And then if he doesn't say anything, it's like, did you work with them before? Or is it like friends of friends, or do you like find them online, or like, and then even the question around like just like, and so you met with these agents, and have they come in and done like a full like listing presentation for you, or they just give you a price on the phone? Just seeing how deep he is with these agents as well, just so you know you have a little more ammo to know what you're kind of up against.
and I think that's right, because at this point, I think
You don't really know anything right now.
Pretty early on, you know that you have a pretty good sense that this is the only thing that matters right now is that you're competing for the listing. There's not really cash play. So basically, your objective is you're competing against two other people for this listing. He's going to list it. He's moving. So it's going to be with either us or one of those two other people. So this is a pretty good,
prospect.
Because he does have motivation. I don't know exactly what's going on. He's retiring or whatever it was, but he's definitely moving in the near term. So,
Question: how did he come in, Mark? What was the source of lead? Was it a cold call, or was it a letter? Postcard?
he got a postcard
Okay.
with the Mark asked him.
Oh, that's right, yeah, you showed the postcard.
Picture of his house, the Google Maps one. So, all right, so we'll pick up here. This is sitting down, and his this guy's I guess daughter is on the phone.
Yeah, she's
on like
on FaceTime.
speakerphone
Yeah.
or FaceTime. Okay.
About 10 years? I can't hear you.
She's enormous.
11 years the second time around.
11 years.
Oh, wow. So I guess do you want to sit down and take a look at the numbers and everything and see what you can do? Thank you very much. So just out of curiosity, how did you end up hearing about our company? Just out of curiosity, did you get a postcard? Nice. Is it kind of scary that we got a picture of it?
All the ones I receive, it's always, in an envelope or a card, but it's just a plain card. Or somewhere, just,
Right.
a little letter attached in an envelope.
Right.
But never one with the house shown.
Really? Yeah, I guess we like to make ourselves stand out a little bit. So, so I guess I'll give you a little bit of background on our company. Typically, like what we do is we'll go into homes and we'll do cash purchases and everything, and we're expecting the houses to be a little bit torn up to where there's going to be a significant amount of work that needs to be done. Like I said, we come in, pay cash, invest 50 to 60, however much money it takes to get it back up to where it needs to be to sell in the market. And that's basically how we make our profit. But I mean, in a house like this, I mean, it's in pristine condition. So I don't think that we would be able to get to a number that would actually make sense for you. So I honestly think that the way to get the most out of your investment in a situation like this would be to try to get it on the open market and try to get a buyer to pay retail for it. Yeah.
So this is when Mark sat down, it was about minute 10 into the meeting, just for reference. And so I think that's that's the right approach generally, right? You're sitting down, you're going to give them some information about what we do, and talk. You're there under the premise of providing an investment offer. This guy's house is in excellent condition, and you already know from other things that he's told you that he probably isn't going to be open to any type of investment offer. He's going to want to get retail. So, what are some of the things that that you like, you didn't like in that sort of initial pitch about the investment piece?
I mean, I thought just the little joke about the house thing on the card, just a little small thing. I thought that was good. Just bring a little personality and bring a little humor. And I thought that was, anytime you do little jokes like that was a nice touch.
I agree with that, and I think this guy, it's clear from I had the benefit of listening to all of the first 10 minutes of this, but it's clear that this guy takes a lot of pride in his house. I think that let me know if you found differently, but he likes to talk about the things that are in the house. He later talks about like the padding under the carpet, like he's really into like all the things that he has done, right? He's taking care of it. So in a situation like that, I think it is beneficial to compliment him and tell him how great the house is, right? He wants to tell you about it. It's nice. You can ask him about more questions about it. Tell him that whatever you want to tell him, that the carpeting's nice, it's soft, or it's plush, or whatever. But he definitely brings that kind of thing up throughout this meeting. He's like, I also did this, or I did this. And so he is expressing like an interest in telling you about how much he cares about his house. He takes a lot of pride. He's been there for 51 years, I think, that's what he said.
Yeah.
So, I think in a situation like that, the way that Mark presented it is fine, it's good. He's saying normally most of the houses we buy as an investor are going to be a little bit more distressed, and maybe take that as an opportunity to say, talk more about why this house is so great. This house has this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and that's really, those things are really going to appeal to a certain group of buyers who are looking for quality, and blah, 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 right? And that helps kind of say, A, differentiate or explain why you think it should go on the market, why you're steering them in that direction, and B, you're sort of telling him things that he wants to hear anyway, right? And he's probably going to be receptive to that because he's like been babbling about all sorts of stuff in his house.
Well, an opportunity to compliment him, basically, is sort of what you're saying.
Yeah, basically.
Because you said it's in pristine condition, but I think what Kevin's saying is you could take more opportunity to talk about more specific things about the house that you really liked, and like kind of point out and make him feel really good about his house, because obviously that's something that he values is the house. So a way to kind of connect and like build rapport.
I think that's right, and I think it also demonstrates that you've noticed, lots of little things that he's done to the house that he certainly takes pride in. You're noticing them and saying, this is important, this is important, this is important, and we're going to advertise that, because we think that there's a subset of buyers who are going to really appreciate these nice things that you've done. And there's no way that somebody like that isn't going to be happy hearing that, because he thinks that the house is worth top dollar because he's done all these things.
Would you have taken more time on the walkthrough as well than the 10 minutes to like ask him more about the features of the house? Say, I noticed this like trim work, like you tell me a little about this, really nice. How did all that come together, or whatever, right? Like if you have someone like that who obviously just wants to talk about the exhaust fan and every other feature, like any other thing that you can think to ask him about and point out, that's kind of nice, and ask him, did he do that, or who did that, and when did that go in, and where's that from, and all that kind of stuff. Give him a chance to really just like puff his chest up and like really talk about it. I think that's an easy opportunity to expand the time that the meeting takes, which is critical to these being effective.
And and then when you sit down and you bring these things up again later, it's not like you're not pulling them out of thin air, right? You've already talked about them in the walkthrough. You're like, it doesn't matter what you say. You're like, I love the way that these baseboards, the color of these baseboards, whatever it may be, like doesn't.
Right, the seams on these baseboards so tight you can't even see where they connect. It's unreal. I've never seen it before.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It was you just talk about everything you come across, and he's going to be flattered. This guy would be flattered. He's an older older gentleman. He clearly is like into his house. And then when you sit down, you can be like, you can rattle off some of the things, be like the woodwork over here, or the banister, or the whatever, or the tile, and he's going to be like, yep. So I think that's good because for two things, or three things. It builds rapport. It shows that you are noticing the things that he cares about, and he's going to think. Most people think that know every little thing about their house, and think that whoever buys it is going to appreciate every little thing about their house. And so you're kind of like appealing to that sense. And plus you're helping breathe life into this recommendation that you think it should go to market instead of investment.
Yeah, I think it's also a chance to demonstrate expertise potentially, especially with your background, right, in the home building. I mean, you know a lot about stuff about houses, right?
Yep.
But it's, you could say, oh, is this, I see you've got the 6-inch, 2-piece molding over there. Is that right? Right, or whatever. Like if you know things, it's a chance to also demonstrate that you really know and understand about houses and you're an expert in it, which also will create more conversation and rapport. In addition to that, but you establish expertise and also build more rapport. That way, if you know stuff like that, it's a chance to use that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you do that on the walkthrough? I didn't hear it.
I think there were like a couple instances, but not as much as I could have for sure.
Yeah, I think just like flesh it out. I think like how long do you recommend that the walkthrough portion ideally take before you sit down?
Well, it certainly depends on the size of the house, but
I mean, assuming let's say it's a typical 1,000 square foot like Rambler with a basement or something like a PG County.
Yeah, I mean you would want it to be at least 20 or 25 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, so about twice as long as. Unless
the person if the person is like this where they want to tell you about their house, then I would this might have been an hour for me.
Right, and see that's part of his what makes the meetings work is he'll take that time, especially this, right? You've got a live one here, right?
Yeah.
Like this is worth as long as you can get him to take, because this is one you could win and one that we really need to be winning, basically, because we don't always have, a lot of times we meet people who don't really want to sell, right? You can't do much about that, but when someone wants to sell, they're going to sell, and we're just competing against other agents through these sessions and stuff and our coaching. That's one that we have to learn how to win the vast majority of those. Otherwise, our conversion rates are never going to be where they need to be, for this to work the way it needs to.
And this is one the bells should be going off because he's already said he wants to sell, and he's talked to other agents, but he doesn't really have a relationship with them. He hasn't done business with them prior. He's already said that. So now, you're from all we can tell, you're sort of similarly situated with these other agents, and that you should have about as good of a chance. So this is the opportunity to demonstrate that you should win the business. So this is definitely one that a live one. So if somebody is not like this, where they're super interested in talking about their house, then the walkthrough might be shorter, and then the more of the rapport building is going to occur at the table with personal stuff, anecdotes.
I guess how long would the rapport building take, whether it be on the walkthrough or be at the table? Ideally, how long would it be before you're talking like business, right? Because Mark's minute 12 or something right now,
right?
Which is fine, right? We're just going through this. It's not I'm not against you. And he's talking about business, which seems premature even to me just hearing this. You know what I mean? You don't have enough rapport is the foundation, I feel on which the whole house of the meeting is sort of built upon, and if that's not strong enough, then you're never gonna get the right house. The house is always gonna be kind of wobbly.
I think it is. You need at least an hour of rapport building, not necessarily before you start talking about any business-related stuff, but at least in aggregate throughout the meeting, because nobody's gonna sit there and talk to you about personal. Very few people are gonna talk to you about personal stuff for an hour without being so.
Well, you got to kind of talk back and forth.
Talk back and forth, exactly.
You're earning their trust at that point.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So
that's a good rule of thumb, though. An hour of rapport building throughout the meeting.
But I think it's important, especially when you have somebody with a house that they're going to take a lot of pride in it. That is an easy easy setup through during the walkthrough to spend a lot of time and just talk about lots of little things. All right, so Mark has just explained the investment piece and why he thinks that this guy's going to be better off going to market.
And I guess the name of the game right now is just urgency, just when the spring market's right around the corner. So I mean, you'd be beating the spring market, so it's still a seller's market. You'd be able to, I mean, you could hit your asking price, I would think, pretty quickly once you get it up and everything. But you said you were looking to move in about 2 to 3 months or so?
Well, it depends. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, like if somebody came in here
Depends on
tomorrow
what.
with the amount of money that you were hoping to get for it, would you be ready to pack up and leave in a month, or?
I wouldn't, I would pack up if on two reasons. If they need it right away,
Right.
or with a contingency till one of the other house be built.
Oh, you're doing a new build?
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
And for a few months, be like in September.
Okay. I just here, did you have like a number in mind that you were looking to get? I mean, you don't know anything, which is great situation to be in. I mean, like if you had like a number in your mind that you want to walk away with in your pocket, what would that be?
At least 420.
At least 420. I mean, I think that's probably doable. I mean, especially since you're beating the spring market right now. And I mean, I've been working with some buyers.
So here you've got, you know, we're sort of like at the point where we're trying to pitch ourselves and talk about strategy for selling the house and differentiate ourselves from the other two agents. So we're like, and you know, we're basically competing at this point. So what are the ways that we win when we compete with other agents? What are the things that we can do, not just, you know, that you want to do or demonstrate that gives us an edge over somebody else that they've already met with? So like better rapport would be one. What else can we do? What else can we talk about that makes us, you know, to help give us an edge?
On the agent side, and since there's an investment side, we see, or brother see a lot of the dispositions, the listing times, maybe to discuss the cumulative amount of volume that was sold. Hey, you know, we sold $3.5 million worth of real estate last year, and all of them were on the market for less than 5 days.
Yeah.
We have a very good, you know, perception of the market that can move properties quick. I will go into the detail just because we're in the seller's position
So
on a constant basis.
Like
Yeah, I
even
don't
more
know any of
generally
those
though, like
statistics, so that's real helpful.
Okay,
What are we
yeah,
talking
we can
about?
write those down.
the like more generally like last time. So we rapport, demonstrating expertise, right? So if they like you, if they think that you're an expert, and if they think that when you whatever strategy you're going to employ is going to be effective, then they're more likely to go with you, right? You know, those are kind of like at a high level what you're trying to accomplish to make them, you know, have faith in you versus somebody else. So here, you know, Mark is asking him about like what he wants price-wise, and he said, you know, 420 is how much he wanted to have in, you know, in his pocket after closing. I think at this point, that you got to like delve into that and explain to him, and you're like, yeah, I think that's doable. And I'm sure the other agents were like, yeah, 425, 435, whatever. You're sort of saying the same thing probably that the other agents are saying. You're just sort of appeasing him and telling him he's going to get his asking price, right? And that may be true, but he wants to net 420, and that's not going to happen, right?
Assuming it'll sell for 420, he will not net 420.
Even if it sold for 435, he's not going to net 420, right?
Right, so you're saying that's an opportunity for Mark to have educated him
Yes.
about closing costs and commissions and how that whole thing works?
Yes.
And ask him where he came up with the number. Has he been to neighbors' houses that have been on the market? Has he looked at Zillow or whatever to see what's sold?
Yes, and that's a
Where's he
question
coming
too.
up with that? Is it just something he needs for his purse?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's your
Exactly.
question.
Yeah.
And he said earlier he met with 2 other agents and they told him that, so, but that'd be a good question anyways, I think, just to clarify.
I may have backed out and dove into the new house a little bit for more rapport building.
Yeah.
And really just
what
kind
the
of
future
explore and
perfect.
expound what the real needs are, his transition process. you know, how did you like with the other realtors discuss how they were going to be able to be responsive and schedule walkthroughs around your regular day-to-day schedule? Are you going out to take visits out to the new house? You know, I probably would have delayed going into the logistics business side of it.
Yeah, I
Because
think-
he wasn't, I don't think the engagement wasn't mature. I'm sorry, no attack against you.
No.
The engagement wasn't mature enough to really be in it at the honesty level that it needs to be, at the vulnerability level.
That's correct.
I think that's exactly right. I think,
Tell me about the new house that you're about to buy.
exactly.
He just needed more meat on it. It was just
Yeah.
kind of premature, you know, to talk about like the spring market and his timing on selling it and stuff like that. It seemed premature to kind of get into all that. Like you needed more, I guess you had more rapport, you needed more expertise established. Yeah, you just needed more.
Hey, I hope you're going to have some of those builders, you know, do the same thing with some of the trim. The woodwork that you have is awesome.
Yeah, talk to me about
Talk
how you're designing the new house. I mean, you took so much
Exactly.
care into this. I mean, it must have been a real labor of love for you. I mean, how's that going? Right? I mean, class, right? Like, you know what he's passionate about. Like, how can you have him expand that to build more rapport, build more rapport between you two?
And he's likely, he may tell you more information about, his time frame, more specifics on what he needs in terms of proceeds. That will help you kind of like diagnose exactly what he wants and needs through the sale of this house as well, in addition to building rapport. I'm sure like John said, I'm sure he would have like loved to babble about building this house. So I'm sure.
But you're talking about that for like 30 or 40 minutes. You know, if you think about like trying to get to an hour of rapport building, which I think is probably good. You know, when you have a real prospect, obviously. I think it's like a good benchmark to try to hit, you know? So you're sort of constantly need to be like scanning for where are there opportunities to go into what someone's interested in or passionate about, to get that clock like running, get them to just talk and talk and talk.
So you have to build rapport before you can break rapport. Right, Phil?
Thank you.
Yeah, Berta, how long are your typical meetings? Like your good meetings?
They are typically 45 to an hour. There'll be 45 minutes, even if I'm not closing.
Right, but how about your good meetings though, right? Where it's
About
like
an hour to an hour and a half. Good meetings, I'm closing about an hour to an hour and a half, because then it's another 20 minutes during the signing process and walking through the paperwork and just kind of making
How
sure
long is
that
the whole meeting?
about an hour to an hour and a half, if I'm closing.
that's actually pretty quick because generally for mine it's about
Plus 20 minutes?
No, that's inclusive, sorry.
It's generally mine about 2 hours typically. When I close stuff for cash, it's usually about 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And then links are what will your ones that you close on average? What do you say?
I think listing ones, especially, are usually more than 2 hours. Sometimes more than 3 hours.
Right. So he's like 2 to 3 hours plus.
I had a few that were more than 4 hours.
I've had a few 3 hours.
Right.
One was a 3 hour.
Right, but basically, like is that something in your mind too when you're meeting with people to try to make it take as long as it possibly can?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's a big thing in your head too. Like you definitely want to cross that hour mark for sure on these listing appointments. And even the other guy we talked to in Chicago, that Saul guy, he said that the meetings they're closing are at least 2 hours. Like that's the threshold they're getting to when they have a much higher chance of success. Because it just takes longer to. Part of rapport is just that that time spent with someone.
I read something the other day. It says, become friends with the sellers. And if we're meeting them for the first time, we can't do it in.
Yeah, you can't do it in 45
minutes.
You
You
just
really
can't.
have to.
Even if you have the best rapport, you guys are like vibing like crazy, it's amazing, like just not enough time. So that's just a good thing, Marco, just to have kind of in your heads is like, how can I make this thing take longer? It's a simple thing, and that's, more conversation topics and, can we go back and look at that exhaust fan again? Like that was really amazing. It's like the amount of air it sucked was incredible.
Wonderful. Yeah. And the listing ones, in my experience, take longer. I think for the most part, there's more. I think those folks know they have options maybe, so you really have to kind of like link them over, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like the Newton Street one, like a woman has met with like 10,000 different people. Right? Ended up spending like 6 hours with her across 2 appointments, and then Yeah.
But like, but that's what it takes though sometimes, and like if it's a good appointment, it's worth it, right? I mean, if you're making whatever it is that you're making, multiple thousands of dollars, it's still a really high hourly rate, even if it's 6 hours.
She also gave me a rocking horse. So.
A rocking horse?
Yeah, it was a Redskins rocking horse, yeah. And now Andrew rides it to work.
Is that why he was?
That's why he's late.
Okay.
That's why I was right on time.
So, the,
So, you can grab one of the chairs in there. We're just doing a sales thing.
all right, so I want to pick back up. So we basically, you talked about kind of like urgency a little bit in terms of the spring market, and now, kind of like go into, I think you go into an anecdote here about some of the buyers, customers that you're working with, which is I think good, and it could be even elongated more than you do.
Who've been looking since winter, and I mean, they've just been kind of dragging their feet on a couple situations where they're like, hey, Mark, I think I want to put an offer in on that house. I'm like, well, let me know. I need to get it written up so we can get it in and try to get it locked down. And then a week goes by, and they're just like, oh, okay, I think we're actually ready now. And then I'll go and check it on the MLS, and it's gone already. So now's definitely a good time to sell. You'd be beating that spring market, like I said. And so that would be my best suggestion in order to get the most out of your investment. And on the other side of a cash business that we do, we're also like a traditional brokerage. And since we work with a bunch of buyers, we have our houses that we'll fix up, and I mean, we don't want to have them on our books for too long, pay taxes on them and whatnot. So we have like a built-up buyer list or investor list that whenever we get a property listed, we'll send it right down that pipeline basically. And typically, I mean, it gets eaten up pretty fast. I mean, like I said, buyers are hungry for houses right now. And I guess on the traditional brokerage side, like if we were to do it, then you wouldn't even have to pay the buyer representation side if they're not represented, which would definitely be good. Could save you a good amount of money. So it'd be like 2.5%. 2.5% on like the 430, I guess, price point. Which I mean, do the math on that real quick would be. It'd be close to 10 grand that you would save at a 430 price point. So I definitely think that's one way that kind of like sets us apart. But I mean, you said you've met with a couple other realtors and everything. Like, what did they say that you liked, and what did they say that you didn't like? And we're constantly trying to improve. So I mean, I always love criticism and feedback.
I'm just trying to get the most I could get out of here.
Okay.
I mean, I've been here 51 years, going on 52.
Right. I mean, it's a huge investment.
And I'm just trying to get as much as I can get.
I completely understand that.
And like I said, it's only me, and I do have a son down the road across Telegraph, and I have another daughter down in Woodbridge.
So she's the only one who went across the country on you?
And
She must have not liked this area or something.
she misses it somewhat.
Yeah, somewhat.
I don't blame you. I mean, I feel like getting a change of scenery is sometimes what you need. And then once
I never liked it down here from day one.
Really?
From when I moved down with my parents until now.
Wow, you hung around here for a long time for not liking it, though, right?
I still don't like it.
Why not?
But yeah, I guess the other agents that you talked to, they mentioned doing like a coming soon or anything like that. Because that's what? Doing a coming.
Okay, so we hear, I think, Mark's instincts are right. He's trying to get more information about what these other agents said, and say, explain things that we can do that might appeal to him that are going to be different than what the other agents talk about, right? So I think the buyer's list is, I think that I got the sense just from the audio that it kind of just like went over his head.
Yeah, I didn't feel like he understood. Yeah,
like he was just, and that's not surprising. He's a shaven older guy, but I'm not sure that it is. So I think it's fine to take a swing at that. I don't think it was that effective with him because he basically just didn't say anything. And then now you're going to talk about the coming soon. But this would be, for me, this is where I would talk about marketing a lot, and talk about like how we Trulia, Redfin, Zillow, how we pay to have their houses advertised and show up at the top, and how internet marketing is like where it's at right now. It's one of the most important things along with price, and like really dig into that particular issue, because I think that's one of the more compelling things that we can talk about that other agents probably aren't talking about.
Well, like John said, we spend $40,000 a month in marketing.
Right, I mean, you should at least mention that, right? I mean, that's like an easy one. Spending $40,000 a month on marketing, and a portion of that money is going to advertising, will go to advertise your house, right? A typical agent, an average agent spends, what is it? I think it's $100, and the average, there's a statistic, I think it's $100 per property advertising, something like that. So if you're trying to get the most money for your house, you said that's the most important thing to you, right? You want to maximize what your net is going to be on the sale of this house. Would you rather have a company that spends $40,000 a month marketing your house for you, or an agent who spends $100 a month on average?
This is a spot where you can go into, when we sell our houses, this is the process that we go through, and that we found that works. This is the right way to sell a house. This is what we would do for you, and so you can talk about it in that light as well. So I think, kind of reading the context clues, like I think, the buyer's list is certainly good to bring up. I think in this particular case, maybe you go back and kind of like try and talk about it, make sure he understands, or you just move on and talk about something else. But either way, I think from his reaction that you didn't get a lot of impact out of that, right? So now we're going to talk about the coming soon. So I think that's a good sort of next one to hit on, and probably I would have gone to that as well.
And also, I think you should ask temperature check questions as well. Each aspect of our benefits that he talks about with the seller, he should ask some sort of question, right? So he says about the buyer list thing, and right, clearly he wasn't really understanding it. And Mark, also, do you feel like your scripting on that has improved as well since this? Because like you just didn't take enough time to really explain and walk him through it clearly enough. Like I wasn't even super clear on it just listening to it. So I would ask him a question though, and something like, did any of the other agents you met with talk to you? Do any of them also have they'll market your house to off market and then cut their commission if they sell the house to those buyers? Right. So like pause each aspect of it. You want to see where he's at. So you're just sort of like running through a bunch of stuff, obviously. And again, we're using this as an example. So we're like not trying to beat up on you or whatever, but like every aspect of the marketing should be like you should have like some sort of temperature check question to see like does he give a shit about this or not? Did he understand it or not?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I probably would have wanted to kind of poke around a little bit more about what's the most important aspect of selling this property other than the money.
Right.
Because talking about the benefits, those metrics are important. We know that, but they may be meaningless to him. And so we really don't know going over these benefits. We're agent number 3, Mr. Seller. What stopped you from, going with one of those agents? You know what I mean?
That's a very
to really
question.
kind of see where he is on the making a decision pendulum.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's a very good question. Right, and as he's planning on interviewing 5 more agents.
Exactly.
We just don't know anything about his decision-making process at all.
Who's engaged? Who else is this transaction going to affect?
That's a good question.
I think it's kind of before we present the benefits, we should know exhaustively where he is in his decision making, so we can, break out the benefits and apply those to specifically what he needs to feel comfortable.
That's a great question. I think the question about it you asked as well, what ounce? So you said price is most important, which is a typical answer we're going to get, which kind of tells you nothing. Besides getting the most money, which I understand you're not trying to get less than you could. Besides getting the most money, like what ounce is most important to you in the sale? Is it like to minimize the inconvenience? Like if he doesn't answer, you can prompt him with things. Like is it minimizing the inconvenience of having like showings, people walk through your house? Is it the fastest sale? Is it a flexible buyer who's going to let you close when you want? Like what ounce besides? Because prices, sure, like everyone's going to say that. What ounce though?
And he's already indicated that he's got a contingency. He's building a house, so like you know a little bit of information, you can get more, and then kind of explain the things that you'll do to help tailor the experience around what he's got going on. He did say, and I think that the reason the buyer's list might have, I think I probably would have taken a step back and gone through it again with him, because he said that he's trying to get I'm just trying to get the most money possible. Like, I agree, you want to find out like all the things that make sense, that he wants. But he said a couple times on this thing that's what he wants. And so, like, I think they're going to be able to get some traction with somebody like that and say, well, let me explain how, if we're able to find you a buyer through this avenue, which is unique to us, how that will get you more money, right? We can help facilitate that in a way that most agents can't. And so I think, kind of hearing that, when he says that, I think that to me is like, let me go back and explain this again, because this can be a pretty compelling point to somebody who and this guy seems to care kind of only about bottom line.
And tying our unique benefit to seller's value, what the seller values. Making that linkage, because it wasn't made. Like the benefit was given, but it wasn't clear how that was going to accomplish his goal of getting the most money. So tying it to it, we got to always do that. So.
Did we know this was a listing going into it?
We usually pretty much know, because we can tell how motivated, just like when you get these calls, how motivated someone is. So we usually have a pretty good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing too is why did this guy even call an investor? You want the most money for your house? Did you think that an investor was going to be where you're going to get the most money, or what was your kind of thought process there? I would at least find out why do you even do this?
Yeah.
And that's kind of his decision-making process, what he's valuing, like you're talking about other agents, how many more agents is he going to talk to? You have to sort of learn all these things. Yeah.
If he's using the proceeds from this house to actually buy the other house, timeline factors, deposits, payment schedules.
Yeah, that's good too.
I just put a. And then, don't get me wrong, I know it's difficult, especially when you meet with the seller. The first thing they're thinking about is price, and so it's easy to get dragged into the price 10, 15 minutes in. But if we engage into the business aspect that early, we've already lost. We're then in their frame versus setting the frame. Hey, we're here to build a relationship, become friends, to see if we even want to work with you. We're realtors, but we have tons of houses to sell. Let's just see if it makes sense for us to take you on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not arrogantly, but just as a posture to just kind of engage on a hey, we can get to that a little later. Let's talk about this house. You're building a new house? Are you going to have both of them at the same time for a while? Are you overlapping? What's your transition plan? I just would have really just kind of spent time and kind of stumbled through that to figure out what gets his attention.
Yeah, that's critical.
And then tie those benefits. Hey, listen, you're doing this to get into this new house, and that, and ABC. This is some of the things that we can do to kind of help you.
Right.
You've met with 2 realtors already. How did you like the way that they talked about these aspects? Did you like the way that they broke down the cost breakout? Everything from the actual retail sale, transaction overhead costs, commission fees. Did they walk you through what your highly and most likely, net proceeds take home is?
Right. Asking that question is good, because that could plant doubt again in his mind about those agents. Well, no, they didn't. But that's kind of what you're looking for, right?
It's like discrediting them without talking bad about them.
Exactly. You're just asking, how how was their marketing plan that they put forward with you? Was it really comprehensive? Did you feel really comfortable? Did you like one's marketing plan better than the other? Oh, they didn't really talk to me about a marketing plan.
What was his name, Mark? His prospect's name?
His daughter's name was Angela. I think his name was like Tom.
Mr. Moore?
I think it was like Tom or something.
I said, Mr. Moore, you've been here 51 years. This kind of decision doesn't happen overnight. I understand that, price is, that's an obvious factor and a very important one, but there's more than one spoke in a wheel. What else is influencing your decision?
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors that go into influencing a big decision like this one.
I think that's right, and even if it's somebody who, I think this guy is like, where price is really like far and away the most important thing to him. He is still going to have other things that he cares about, maybe not nearly as much, but things that if you speak to are going to sort of be icing on the cake, right? Like you can help him work out a plan so like when he sells his house, it's seamless. When he, transition to the house he's building, if you can help with those details, it may not be, like the most important thing, but it's going to be something that helps kind of generate rapport and things that he still does care about to some level, on some level.
Can I say one more thing?
Yep.
And this has been effective throughout, no matter what sales role I've been in. Use the person's name. There is nothing sweeter than the sound of your own name when somebody else says it. And it kind of endears you to that person. It's, it's a tiny thing, but it works.
Yeah, it's a good little technique to use.
And if they want to be called Mr. Moore or Bob or, whatever.
Yeah, and then something in particular for you, just unless they want to be called Mr. whatever, I would just call them by the first name. I think it's like from the military thing or whatever, just for you personally, I would just call them by the first name. Yeah, if you want it to be on a more familiar kind of level, not like in more of a respectful, right? You're their peer, they're not your supervisor and you're the subordinate, so you want to always assume that. And if anything, you're a little ahead of them because you're the expert, right? And you're guiding them on this process. So yeah, just try to do that.
All right, so here we're talking about coming soon.
Soon, because that's for our properties. That's the way that we like to maximize our profit and potential for it.
No, because I'm not, I don't want no sign out there, and
She must have not liked this area or something.
I'm going to back it up so you can hear the whole piece.
She misses it somewhat.
Yes, I'm right.
I don't blame you. I mean, I feel like getting a change of scenery is sometimes what you need. And then once
Well, I never liked it down here from day one.
Really?
From when I moved down with my parents until now.
Wow. Wow, I mean, you hung around here for a long time for not liking it, though, right?
I don't like it.
Man. But yeah, I guess the other agents that you talked to, did they mention doing like a coming soon or anything like that? Because that's
what?
Doing a coming soon. Because that's for our properties, that's the way that we like to maximize our profit and potential for it.
No, because I'm not, I don't want no sign out there, and everything is still
It's in the works, yeah.
in the works, and the one person wants put the house up. If I go with them for $435, and the other one was $425.
Okay. I mean, ultimately, you'd be the one who determines the price. I mean, but the great thing about the coming soon, I was telling you about, we typically don't even do signs anymore, just because, I mean, I'm sure back when you got this place, like there wasn't much online, right? Like you didn't do your home search online. Now it's everybody sits back on a couch and just goes to Zillow or Trulia or whatever it may be and just searches it. I mean, that's how people find houses now. It's not as much. I guess back in the day, it would be like a realtor would print out the listings for you and then send them to you, and you'd pick out the ones you wanted to see. And
well, when we bought this house, when we saw this house, it was in the paper.
Really? See,
not the picture, just
the description of it.
Back in those days.
Right. I mean, things have changed so much since then, right?
My wife and I have been married since '63. But we were together from when we were 13 years old.
Right.
And back in those days, they had little clips like that. For sale, and
right.
Gives the address and everything. And we lived over in Alexandria on Palmer.
Oh, okay, wow.
And came and looked at it and saw it, and then we liked it, and
wow. That's something else, yeah. I mean, like I said, everything's just like so internet-based now. So I mean, I think that, you want to get the most out of your house, and you're like not ready to move like right now. So I think that a coming soon would be a great way to just basically gather market feedback on where they think your house would sell. I mean, so for coming soon, basically how that works is like you could slap a ridiculous price tag on it, like $700,000 if you wanted. And we can basically track how many people have viewed it online, how many people have saved it online, and then if anybody has any questions about it, then they would all come to us basically and be like, oh, like when's this coming on the market, or whatever their question might be. And so that way we can kind of track, like I said, you can put a high price tag on it, but then you're not going to get as much traffic through it, like not as many people are going to view it and save it. And that's how we kind of determine where your house should be priced. So, I mean, to get the most out of it, you kind of want to start on that upper tier and kind of work your way back on it. And, I mean, definitely I'd say even started up like a 440, somewhere in that area, just see what happens. I mean, you never know, you might get somebody. I always say that to people looking at houses, it's like beauties in the eye of the beholder. I mean, some people come through and be like, oh, 440, like, I've never paid that amount for that house. But then there are some people who are like, that's in the exact location I wanted, that's the exact type of house I wanted, bedroom, bathroom count, square footage, exactly what I wanted. I think that house is worth 450. So that's like a kind of a good way to gauge. So that way.
Well, the big thing is the Metro right over here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's
The Metro.
Right.
So, yeah, I think the coming soon is a good thing to talk about with this guy, because it's going to help differentiate you from the other agents. I'm not sure he followed totally. I think somebody like that, you've got to sort of to really belabor the point and make sure you're explaining what it is. And I don't think he knows what. I think if you ask him right now, what is it coming soon? I don't think he would be able to tell you, right? Really break it down for him. Like he's talking about the newspaper, right? So explain what it is and how it relates to what he's trying to accomplish to get more money, right?
Well, also, he missed opportunities too with question asking. Like the one agent said 425, one said 430. Oh, how did they come up with those estimates for you? And what did you think about those numbers? And then you sort of, sometimes you'll talk past your questions. I forget the exact example, but there were two specific questions, I forgot what they were. So just try to ask the question and stop. And just let them answer. Sometimes you'll ask a question and then then you'll answer it yourself.
So he said, did they talk about it coming soon? It was a great question. His other agents talked about it. I'm sure the answer was no, but he said no because I don't want a sign in my yard. So he obviously doesn't know what you're talking about.
Right, so then you got to back up. You can't just kind of keep talking through it. You got to back up and then say, oh, well, what's your understanding of it coming soon?
Yeah.
Oh, just ask him, sort of put him on the spot so he sort of realizes, I don't know what that is. And then he's ready to listen to you, tell him what it is.
And then you can kind of harp on the fact that, yeah, okay, these other agents did not go over this, right? This is a tool that we use to help get, find the right price, and that's going to be helpful for you because you're trying to maximize the sale of the house, right? Yep. So, right out of the gate, I was clear, he was who knows? I don't know what he had in mind there.
Right, he said about the sign.
Yeah.
Right, he said, Sally agent said 410, Bobby agent said 420, Timmy agent could come in and say 430.
Yeah.
So how are you going to know when an agent is giving you what the top end price of what you can get is? How are you going to know when the agent that you meet with is going to tell you the price you're actually going to get for the house? How are you going to be 100% confident in what they're telling you? Oh, well, not going to, I don't know. Well, that's why we do it coming soon. Because the market dictates the price.
So I think.
Do you know what I mean by that? Well, no. Or whatever, right? So you sort of have to each step, you're kind of baby stepping him through,
Yeah, I think that's a good, that segment is a good sort of clip of, trying to really baby step what you're trying to talk about, in this case, the coming soon, making sure that you're hammering, they totally understand, A, what it is, B, why it's good for them in their situation, and C, why what you're talking about is different. And then along the way, he's saying, oh, I bought the house in the newspaper, my wife and I met when we were 13, I was from my parents' house, and then I moved down here, it's been 51 years, and I like it here, blah, 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 right? Those are opportunities where you hit the pause button, and then you follow up and ask them questions and build more rapport.
Yeah, it's huge opportunities.
Yeah.
That's where you got to toggle back. That's where you got your little spidey sense has to tingle and be like, wow.
Yeah.
You can ask questions, you can share an anecdote about your parents, how long they've been together, your grandparents, anything that comes to mind. Asking more questions about it, Wow, so how old were you when you bought the house? What was that like? Was that scary? You know, the first house that you bought. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you could talk for. I could probably talk for 45 minutes about that, right? And that's your hour and a half of report right there.
Yeah.
He has a certain frame of reference, and clearly there needs to be a bridge between how things were done in 1963 versus now. And you can explain. I try to explain it to me like I'm 6. I need it real simple. When there's something I don't know about that I want to understand, I ask somebody to explain it to me like I'm 6 or I'm 8 or something.
He also, like, he said things, he's talking about personal things that have no bearing on the conversation. Like, I met my wife when we were 13. And there's no basis for him to say that, right? In the context of this conversation. So, and he's done that a few other times. He likes to talk about his personal life, right? This is not gonna be somebody that's hard to get talking. You'd be like, you met when you were 13, like, where did you go to school together? Whatever it may be. And then you talk about that for 10 minutes, and then you come back and finish the coming soon or whatever, you know. But I think somebody like this you're gonna get a lot of traction this is gonna be like 80% rapport, 20%.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. Like if you're with this guy for 2 hours, 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
you're gonna get the listing. It doesn't matter what the hell you're saying.
Yeah.
About the coming soon and about our $40,000 a month marketing budget.
Yeah.
This guy's not really gonna give a shit. I mean, you should say all that stuff too, because it's good practice. But like, this is like 2.5 hour like rapport building. That's how you probably do it.
That's exactly right. So like, and then like telling them that we're gonna do things to help maximize the price is probably like 10 or 20% of it, and the rest of it is $4 million, I think, with this guy.
I agree.
It's 10:08, so why don't we stop for now? We can finish the rest of this because there's some more good stuff. We can do it next time.
Yeah, or even a newer Markle experience meeting, kind of new and improved.
The new and improved Markle experience.
And then we can do a Berta meeting at some point too. I think this is a good format. Do you guys like this format?
Yeah.
I think this is good, right? I think we keep doing this and do it more as like a group. I think a group session too, where like we'll kind of like lead it a little bit, but I think there's a lot of good sales experience. I mean, Terry and Tara, and then my sales background, then Phil's experience. So I think we can all break these down. I think that'd be good. Yeah. And Kevin obviously goes in a shitload. So. Yeah.
And Andrew will be in charge of the audio and video.
Andrew is our esteemed assistant.
All right.
Yeah.